at 2:06. I'm Michael Kastner, KFI News, and now more with KFI's tech savior, Leo Laporte.
Thank you, Michael. 2:06 on KFI. Tech savior. Leo Laporte. I'm just the tech guy. That's all. On KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk radio, another hour of tech talk to come. And then, of course, 3 o'clock, Mario Martinoli talks restaurants, food, good stuff. At 3 o'clock this afternoon. I'll be back tomorrow, noon to 3. And we're going to talk more about the Geek Cruise because the captain, the guy who started this business, what a kind of clever idea. I don't know if he's getting rich on it. I don't think he is. But it's fun. Anyway, Neil Bauman, the guy who created Geek Cruises, will join us tomorrow. And we'll talk about geek cruising, what that means. It's not just for Macs. First one, I think, was a Mac cruise. But he's off next week to do one for .NET, a Windows cruise. Not just Windows, .NET. And he does Linux cruises and Perl cruises and all sorts of stuff. Digital photography. The one I'm going on in June this summer is both Mac, but there's two conferences simultaneously. One's a Mac Mania, and then the other one's digital photography. It's for photographers, Photoshop, that kind of thing. So both of those will be happening. So, let me, one of the kind of unfortunate and sad things that happened while I was on the cruise, and I didn't know about it because I was out of contact until I got off the boat on Sunday, last Sunday, was kind of a big layoff at G4 TechTV. Now, this is kind of inside baseball. I'm not going to go on and on about it. But I know some of you are interested in this. I started more than 6 years ago with a company called TechTV. Actually, at the time, it was ZDTV, doing a technology TV show, Call for Help in the Screensavers. We did it for 6 years. The company was sold. It was owned by Paul Allen at the end. It was sold to Comcast. And they bought it last summer and merged it with their gaming channel, G4, to create some evil hybrid called G4 TechTV. They canceled one of my shows and basically said I was not needed, and I went to L.A., which is fine. They moved the channel was in San Francisco, moved the whole thing to L.A., where G4 was produced. I continue to do the show that I started, Call for Help, but I do it out of Canada now through a different company that is the Canadian affiliate. And all of this is way complicated. But I wish my friends, the people who I worked with at TechTV, well, and they went down and they started the screensavers up again in the new studios. And then they continued X-Play and Unscrewed and merged those shows with other shows from G4 to create this hybrid channel. That was 2 months ago. Well, 2 months later, one show was canceled, Unscrewed, and Martin Sargent and the entire staff were fired. Much of the staff of the Screensavers, my old show, was fired, all except for a few. Kevin Rose and Sarah Lane, the only on-air people who were kept. Alex was fired, Yoshi was fired, Dan was fired. And much of the production staff, including the executive producer, were fired. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on at G4. I don't think they have much of a future, frankly. I think the channel is kind of starting to just collapse, shred. Clearly, though, one of the things that's the writings on the wall is that if they do continue at all, which I think is questionable, but they'll do it as a gaming channel. And that was always their vision. For years they did that, 2 or 3 years. That were horribly unsuccessful at it. Bought TechTV, hoping to get more subscribers and more viewers. I'm sure they'll drive what's left into the ground, and it'll be all over in a few months. So it's very sad because here's a channel that we worked very hard. A lot of us, hundreds of us, worked very hard to build over 6 years, and it's gone. So the question is now, and this is the thing I think that worries a lot of people, well, what happens to technology-oriented programming on television? The garbage they're running on G4, it doesn't really count. It's video game scenes and silly stuff aimed at 13-year-olds. Nothing wrong with 13-year-olds. Not all 13-year-olds. My 13-year-old wouldn't like it, but it's obviously they're going for the lower demographic, the younger kid. And I don't know if there's a future for the kind of programming I'm doing here on the radio on television. I don't know if there's a future for the programming, the TV show I'm doing in Canada, which is very well received in Canada here in the States. And I think a lot of networks are looking at what happened with TechTV and saying, boy, see what a flop that was. That's it on that. We'll never try that. But here's the good news, and I think this is what's really most interesting about all of this. This week, Yahoo and SBC made a deal. Microsoft is in a deal to start putting television on the Internet. And I think that's very interesting. They call it IPTV, Internet Protocol Television. Sony next year will release its first television that's capable of receiving cable signals and programming from the Internet. It'll plug into the net as well as your cable box. And I think over the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see a pretty big change. As high-speed Internet becomes wider spread, and the speeds go up, the capabilities go up, it's just a matter of time before television programs are distributed instead of on cable or through the air on the net. Now, just as cable didn't eliminate broadcast television, I don't think the net will eliminate cable television. They'll probably all three continue to exist for some time. But the future is, I do believe, in Internet television. And what better place for computer and technology-oriented programming? I mean, people who can do this now are computer freaks. They have the broadband, they have the technology, so these are the people who will be the first to watch. So I know a number of people who were at TechTV and who are still at G4 TechTV are very interested in this. And I think I can't speak too freely about it, but I think this is where you're going to see it going. And that's not so bad. Now, I know we have many of the people who are listening to this show don't listen on the air. They listen on the Internet. More and more all the time. And with podcasting, it's possible for anybody to put a show up and have people subscribe to it, download it to their MP3 players. And as more and more video players like this Portable Media Center from Creative hit the market, I don't think there's any question that people will start doing their own television programming, video programming that is downloaded onto your video player over the Internet. What we really are seeing, I think, is we're on the eve of something brand new. A new way of television distribution that will allow somebody to serve a smaller audience more economically. And so you'll have a lot more specialty programming. If you're into knot tying, there'll be a knot tying channel. If you're into cats or horticulture or chess or computers or PDAs, there'll be channels for all of those. And I think that's just around the corner. I really do. I think the technology is almost there. And with this new deal between Yahoo and SBC, Yahoo looks to be really moving into this space. Here's a very forward-thinking company who are looking more and more at delivering not just specialty programming, but even entertainment programming over the Internet. So I'm sad about my friends losing their jobs. I'm sad about what happened to TechTV. It probably could have succeeded in the right hands, but it didn't get that chance. It's certainly succeeding in Canada in the right hands. But here in the States, and eventually worldwide, I think eventually what's going to happen is you'll see TV shows over the net of all kinds. So that's kind of my take on that. I'm trying to get some of the former hosts from TechTV to join me on the radio. We can talk about what happened from their perspective as insiders. You always hate to see this happen, but it's the business. It happens all the time.